Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushtitat swadharme nidanam shreyah paradharmo bhayavaha.
Chapter 3, Shloka 35. Better it is to follow one's own Swadharma, even if it is faulty, than to follow an alien law, even as that may be very well wrought out. Death in one's own Swadharma is better than following an alien law. Perilous it is to follow an alien law. The best example of this shloka is the 19th century India that was wanting to Europeanize itself in its culture, in its habits, in its education, in its way of life, in its intellectual culture. All of India, on one hand, was attempted to be Europeanized by the East India Company. On the other hand, the Indians themselves were looking at Europe as the ultimate ideal and were wanting to Europeanize themselves. And thank goodness to the movement towards Dharma that retained the roots of India, the core of India. Be it through the literary works in Bengal, or through the fire that burnt in Maharashtra, Punjab, and the other states and provinces of India that yearned to retain the truth of India, the spirituality of India, the culture of India. And through this, the Indian culture, the Indian dharma, the Indian soul, the Indian roots retained themselves, and not just retained, but also began to thrive when Swami Vivekananda roared to the world about the importance of dharma. Yet, sadly, a huge part of the Indian civilization imitated the West, and sadly that continues to happen today as well. It is better to follow one's own dharma, even as one follows it by stumbling one's way through it, than to follow a dharma that is alien to oneself. When we study as a part of Indian education system, majority of the books written in the social sciences are through authors in the West. Does it mean that prior to the birth of science, no knowledge existed in the world? That the Eastern, the Indian civilizations, they had no framework of education, no path-breaking knowledge, philosophy? Is it that all knowledge and all intellectual breakthroughs have happened only in the West? That's not true. That's rather a byproduct of years of trying to imitate the West, of placing that above one's own civilization, one's own Swadharma, one's own culture, one's own roots. Similarly, at an individual level also, following a dharma that is not one's own, even as you may be amazing at it, it is better to follow one's own dharma, even as you may falter in it. As a very practical everyday life example, in my 10th standard, I received a very high mark in the sciences and economics. But I didn't really feel that that is my subject, that science is my place. I felt more attracted and drawn towards humanities and arts. But the entire society and career counseling, everything told me to take science. But within 3 months, I realized that is an alien law. Even as I may flourish in it, it is not my own. It doesn't sit with what is my true nature, what is my natural capacities and possibilities and inclinations and seekings. And thus I shifted to humanities. Thus, This shloka, even though it's very profound, it can find an application in our daily lives. Swadharma, of course, is not the career of one's liking. Swadharma is the expression of soul at the service of dharma, at the service of the divine, at the service of a higher purpose. And thus, to discover one's Swadharma, one has to first and foremost discover oneself. Who am I? What is my truth? What is my calling? What are my true values? Not social values, soul values. What is my natural way of coming alive in this world? What is my soul force? Beginning to discover oneself, one's truth, that is at the foundation of Swadharma. And then to discover what is Dharma? What is it that the divine will is trying to do on earth? Why did this planet got created in the first place? What is the Creator trying to do through creation? Only when one discovers both of these things can one begin to live one's Swadharma. Otherwise, it remains a very limited concept of doing what one likes to do. If confronted with two opportunities, one makes me do what I like to do. Another one probably asking me to do things and acquire skills that are absolutely out of my comfort zone. But the latter is serving a higher purpose, a higher cause. Which one would you choose? Which would align better to my Swadharma? And then on the other hand, even though I may fit very well within a corporate and everybody would admire me and I would get promotion after promotion, but what am I being called to work towards? Do I really want to be doing what I'm doing? Do I really want to be serving what I'm serving? What is my true calling? What is my soul's true calling? What do I wish to serve? Or rather, what does the divine wish to serve through me at the service of the divine? I once had a choice between remaining in Aurobindo and, on the other hand, a very well-paid job in the US. And I chose remaining in Aurobindo after listening to this very shloka. Until that point in time, I was confused and I was mentally justifying because that particular job in the US sounded absolutely perfect in terms of contribution to sustainability, society, monetary contribution. It sounded like a perfect job. But deep down I felt the realization of Aurobindo is closer to me, my soul, my work, my gurus. And even as at that point in time I had spent 1 year in Aurobindo stumbling my way through, not yet finding a footing, not yet feeling like I'm coming alive in action. After reading this shloka, I felt it is better to follow my own law, even as it is imperfect, than to take up something that looks very perfect, but that doesn't feel like it's my calling, it's my work, it's my fundamental dream. So sense through the faith in your heart the highest possibility and trust that. Because sometimes one option can even seem logically as perfect, but deep down you know why you're doing what you're doing. And for me, I knew deep down it wasn't about sustainability, serving society. It was really money. And I felt that if it is about money, then it's not really what I'm being truly called to do. It's more of my ego's defensive need. 1 year I struggled with money in Aurobindo. So I was wanting to go out and earn all the money and come back. It was more of a defensive reaction of the ego. To discovering one's true purpose and true nature, first is to discover the divine. Not just the divine in oneself, but the divine in itself that is manifesting through all. And it is to discover the dharma before one makes it about swadharma. Because if one prematurely makes it about swadharma, then it gets to be a lot about I, me, myself. So what is dharma? And who am I? Who is the self that is manifesting through all of us and in whom all of us are manifesting? Discover the divine, discover the dharma. Once you discover the divine and once you discover the dharma, the Swadharma will become easier to sense and tune into. Otherwise, Swa will be confused for ego and Dharma will be confused for career. Dharma is the service to the divine and the divine will and the divine work. The divine is that which manifests through the mind as wisdom, through the heart as love, through the energies as power, and through the body as beauty. The divine is the eternal, the infinite, the creator in whom we all exist and who exists in all of us, the one self in all, the self in all of us. How can one get in touch with that? Through a certain sacredness in one's heart and allow that to be the leader of one's life and allow that to let one discover one's true and natural gifts. And then to offer those gifts to the highest that one can perceive in oneself, in one's consciousness, in one's work. Swabhava, which is the foundation of Swadharma, one way to understand it is in terms of the four fundamental powers at work in the universe. The power of wisdom, the power of strength, the power of harmony, the power of perfection. Even as when we become integral human beings, we ought to manifest all four powers. Each one of us is closer to one power or the other. Some of us are much more inclined towards ideas and pursuit of knowledge. For the sake of knowledge, are drawn to wisdom for the sake of wisdom. Some of us are more drawn towards action, driving action in the world. We are very good at mobilizing people, at setting aims and agendas, at leading people. Some of us are better at harmonizing people, resources, and work, while some of us are best in implementing the works in its very detail. Each one of us have a unique swabhava. We've developed a psychometric test that helps you get a sense of your swabhava, your soul force, so that you can get closer to what is your true nature, because discovering your true nature is foundational and fundamental to discovering your true purpose. We are very happy to share the psychometric test with you. We will give it to you in the description below, and you can take it. You'll receive a certain report that will help you know your three most predominant natural strengths, your swabhava, your soul force, your unique true nature and strengths that form the very foundation of Swadharma. So with that, I invite you to take the test. Take the test and share with us in the comments below. What is your predominant soul force? What is your predominant natural strengths? With that, I shall see you in the next video. I hope you found the video to be useful. If you would like to continue your journey with us, if you would like to help us support you in your journey, click on the link below and join us for a 2.5-hour signature masterclass called the Awakening Karma Yogi Workshop, where we run you through the fundamental stages of awakening to become a Karma Yogi, to be peaceful inside and successful outside. We talk about Swabhava, our true nature, and Swadharma, our soul's purpose, which are the building blocks of a life affirming, not a life negating spirituality. So if you found this video to be useful, click on the link below and I shall see you at the workshop.